Let's talk about carbon material nodes. First, we'll cover some basic information and then dive into specifics. In Houdini and Maya, you can load a carbon material node into a scene and associate it with one or more cloths as you wish. Here I have a basic scene with 3 cloths. I can load in a carbon material node from the shelf. The material node has some default values, as you can see here, which I can override by loading a preset. I can then select a cloth and send those values to the cloth like this. Any changes I make to the material node, I can manually push to the cloth. Or, it's much better to select the material node in the cloth parameters and tick the Use Material box. Now any changes I make to the material node will be sent automatically to the associated cloths when the simulation is reset. Note that to reset the simulation in the material node, you must have a cloth selected, otherwise it does not know which simulation to reset. We have created a large collection of presets based on real fabric measurements that you can load into your carbon material nodes. The carbon presets are identical for Maya and Houdini. The presets come in 2 versions, as you can see here, one for triangle meshes and one for quad meshes created by the carbon remesher. Quad meshes give a cleaner weft warp bias response. Now let's have a closer look at the parameters of the carbon material node. We're just going to focus on some key parameters. You can read the documentation to explore all the features. Up at the top here, it gives you a lot of information about the material and suggested simulation settings to get the right fabric behavior. These are probably higher simulation settings than you would normally use, but they are necessary to get real material behavior. Now coming down, the first setting here is thickness, and this assumes your scale scene is in meters. If your scale scene is in centimeters, you need to remove 2 zeros like this. If you only work in centimeters, you might want to load and resave all the material nodes with the thickness set to centimeters to avoid any mistakes. Coming down further, we have stretch and bend, and here parameters are set in the warp weft bias tab. The stretch and bend settings are a combination of base plus range multiplied by the tab value. So the very simplest way to set these up is to leave the base at 1, the range at 0, and just put the data you want into the tab. That way it's 1 plus 0 times the tab. It's very simple. Coming a bit further down, we usually leave the surface parameter wide open when going to convergence. It's there if you want to try and create stiffer materials without convergence. There are also a number of viscosity settings here, as you can see, and these help shape the cloth in motion. You need to tune those based on your specific look requirements during animation. Finally, towards the bottom, there is aerodynamics. This is especially important if your cloth is large or light and you want it to respond to the air around it. You must also have a carbon flow node like this in the scene for any aerodynamic response to be experienced. The carbon flow node default uniform settings represent still air, and those are fine for a basic cloth response. That's it for now, and thank you for watching.